It is Friday, the 26th of June, 2026. The time, of course, is 10 past tomorrow. And right now, I'm going to talk about one of the more interesting things that has happened in the AI world over the last couple of weeks. Although, if you're not directly in the AI bubble, it may not have reached you. So, I'm talking about an essay which was written by Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft. Meaning he, of course, is about as deep inside the AI story as anyone on the planet. Right? A lot of the AI that many of you use through Copilot runs through his systems. So when he puts his read on how AI is playing out for businesses, I think it's worth a minute of our reflection. So he wrote this essay and he posted it on the 14th of June. It's now been seen more than 75 million times. So it clearly hit a nerve of interest with the world. The line at the heart of it that runs through it is, in his words, an AI frontier without an ecosystem is not stable. Now, that's super abstract, so let me kind of unpack it and put it in layman's terms. Nadella's worry is that a world where a handful of frontier AI models, the biggest systems at the cutting edge, soak up the expertise of every company and every industry and capture nearly all of the value that comes from it. So in his words, he says, the last thing any of us want is a world where every company across every sector is ceding value to a few models that eat everything they see. So his point is, it wouldn't just be unfair for a couple of the leading labs, i.e. OpenAI and Anthropic, to dominate. It would be unstable. So he's saying if all the value pulls into just a couple of those models, the political economy won't tolerate it, much like globalization hollowing out whole regions of the world. And so his answer for businesses, for us, is to build a frontier ecosystem, not just rely on one frontier model. He's saying if you do that, the value will spread across companies and across countries. So he wants you to stop just consuming a particular frontier model and start taking part at the frontier yourself. I'll break that down, what that means as well. He says you do that by building your own learning loop between what he's distinguishing as two different kinds of capital now, human capital and token capital. He's saying if you wire them together, they compound and they build upon each other, each humans and AI tokens, each one making each other more valuable over time. So I'll try and make that even plainer in more layman's terms, because I've had to read this essay a few times to get there. He's saying the big models are becoming a commodity. The same model that your competitor buys off the shelf, you can buy as well. So the advantage can't be the model. I agree with that. I've been saying that for a long time. He's saying it's the loop that you build between your people and your AI. And that loop is the ecosystem, and it's the bit that makes you money. I also agree with that. I've been saying that for a long time as well. So what are those two bits? One, your people, their knowledge, their judgment, their relationships, their expertise, their experience, the pattern spotting that comes from years of doing the work and doing it really well. He's calling that human capital. And the other is the AI capability that you actually own and build up over time. And this is a bit of a distinction. He's not saying the AI capability within one particular model that you rent per month. He's saying the stuff that you wrap around it. So your actual workflows and your data and your own agents that you build, but your knowledge systems, your files, your folders, your IP, your institutional memory, he's saying that part is all yours. And that's the bit of his essay with a bit of teeth. You know, he's saying the first group of capital, people, they don't get less valuable as the AI gets better. They actually get more valuable because somebody still has to decide what's worth doing and spot what actually matters and be able to spot excellence when the AI gives it or not, when it's not quite on point. And so Nadella's saying, take that human expertise away and you've just got compute running around in circles. Okay, so why am I bothering to hone in on this essay? Because I think it's a bit of a different message from the usual hype story that we get from a lot of AI leaders. What, the old thing like AI changes everything, adopt it or get left behind. Look how much faster it makes you. That's a real sales pitch. This is a guy at Nadella. His company sells more AI than almost anyone, and he's telling you that the model itself over here is not your advantage. Now, this is the caveat that I have to put in there. I think he's not being purely selfless here. Microsoft is the ecosystem. They run the rails behind, Copilot, which a lot of the world is on right now. And right now, actually, Copilot is a long way away behind the 2 or 3 frontier models. I say 3 because Google has started dropping off over the last 3 months, but Microsoft is a long way behind OpenAI and Anthropic. And so with their own Copilot users drifting off or drifting up to the frontier, if you're losing the race to build the best models like Microsoft is, I think it's a very smart move on his behalf to argue that the model was never the prize anyway, and actually the value sits in the ecosystem and all of your files and folders and IP, which conveniently you could also say, actually Microsoft owns all that as well through Azure and Foundry and GitHub and SharePoint. And so plenty of commentators have made that point this week, and they're right. But it also doesn't make him wrong. It just tells you why he's the first person to start banging this drum most loudly, because he's got the most to gain from this. But given all that, he's still not wrong. And so he's changing the question a little bit. He's saying most organizations are still stuck on the obvious old question of like, are we using AI yet? He's saying there's a better one. It's, are we building something with it that's not just consuming a model, but are we starting to build in all of our workflows and our files and our folders and our IP, our documentation, our standard operating procedures? Are we building that all in, and are they wired together with the models? And yeah, that's done when you start moving into like proper agentic tools like Cowork or Claude Code or Codex from OpenAI. And so when you do, you start building what he calls a learning loop between those human capital and the token capital. You wire them together and they compound and they build on themselves, making the other more valuable as time goes on. And so there's truth to what he's saying. The big models are becoming a commodity. It's the same kit that your competitor buys off the same shelf. So the advantage can't be the model, right? It is that loop between your people and your AI. The loop is the ecosystem that he's talking about that makes you more money, right? I don't particularly love the makes you more money focus, but so what he's describing actually has even more to it than just add your data to a platform. It's not just like switch on the connectors between your tool and SharePoint. It's saying, what are you really building here? It's kind of 3 things, right? And only the first one is the data. So yes, wire your organizational knowledge and your IP into agents. All of it. You're like the whole messy lot, right? And then second thing is, do you have the people who can actually use the tools? Not just people with a subscription, but people with the trained and learned capability to use them. And then, because if you have those 2, the third is possible. And at the moment, this is the rarest one. This is people who can change the work itself. Not just do the old process that you used to do manually, but do it a little bit faster because AI is doing some of the things. But actually, like, how do we get to this end result in a completely new way? Because AI can do it in a new way than we used to. That's the part that reshapes everything else, right? And then when you get there, when your people get there, that's in a loop, because the people have redesigned that work. They now have the sharper judgment. They feed the judgment back into the AI. The system gets better. That frees the people to take on more more substantial, more meaningful work that's also more fulfilling for them and moves the dial for your clients and customers. And so this loop compounds, right? But it can't build itself without your people being in that loop. So a couple of other things I want to like dive into here, because there's a bit of commentary that you'll see from like the tech bro community, which will say, well, the best way to build that loop of AI using all your data to get better and better is to let the AI do it for yourself. I disagree with that. And here, I'm going to like diverge here to something else that I've seen this week. So bear with me, because I'll go over there and then I'll pull it back. So there's been this huge study that came out of China this week. They studied 26,000 students over 2.5 years. The one who were all using AI to do their homework, right? Now, the ones who used AI to do their homework scores went up by about 18%, right? Which sounds great, except their exam scores fell by about 20% within 6 months. So the damage landed on those students who just let the AI do the work for them, completely turned over their cognition to the AI, and then they fell asleep at the wheel. But the students who kept putting in the same hours and they were using AI to help them think, not do the thinking for them, they achieved the same results, right? They achieved great results. So the same tool, AI, but different outcomes because it was used very differently. One turned their cognition over, the other stayed driving and stayed in the thinking. And so that's, I think, the context of what Nadella's essay actually is. That study, the Chinese study, it's not actually a story about teenagers and homework when you look at it over here. It's the story about a company that makes two different choices, or two different companies that make two different choices. One just rolls out AI to do the work, right? That's the equivalent of homework results up, but exam results down. And in a company environment, that means like tasks are getting done faster, more efficiently, but the human capability is starting to drain underneath, right? There's human capital leaking away. But this is the cruel part about it. For about 6 months, the two strategies will look identical. This is people using powerful AI, but without the real skill and capability to do it. This is trained, AI literate, AI skillful people using AI with all of the organizational context in that loop that I talked about. For about 6 months, those two strategies will look identical. There'll be a productivity bump, a massive productivity bump in both. The numbers will look great. AI will be doing the work over here, and AI is building human capability and organizational capability over here. But then you'll notice this one starts compounding and building over time. This one will start to fade away, right? By the time it shows up in the actual business results, it will be expensive to undo, because that's cognitive debt that's starting to take place, right? So if you are a business leader who's making the call on this, what does all of this mean? It means, and this is the part I really agree with Nadella, stop investing too much thought into the model wars, right? The model that you're agonizing over right now will be obsolete in 2 years anyway, and probably free. So the model's not where it's won. Pick one of the frontiers, yes, but then how do we get you to that agentic level where we need to be playing now? That's the frontier. Agents used by skilled people with all of their work and company context built into it, building those loops to redesign the work and really truly be redesigning how work happens in organizations. That is the frontier. Not are we getting faster? Everyone's getting faster with AI, but are we getting better, right? And they're two different KPIs, right? And so that, by the way, is the whole idea behind what we at 10 Past Tomorrow call AI emergence, right? Capability, AI capability and human capability baked into the organization, working with people's experience and judgment, not just like output that you magically summon from a black box. If you saw my essay, my last essay about my reflections on using Claude Fable 5, that is the possibility from now on. Once that model comes back, anyone can summon magic from a black box, but they'll be renting that capability. They won't be really developing that capability through the organization and through the people. So the models, the AI models, that's a rental. What you own and what you keep is the work that your people are putting in, the capability that they're developing with the tools, and the loop that they're building between the AI and the work, and all of that institutional IP and processes within the organization. So that is the line now between using AI as a tool and building it actually into how the company and your people run, right? That's the harmony. So if we get that right, people, most importantly, people will come out of this era sharper over here, not flattened and deadened by AI over here. It's a nuanced topic, this one. I'd be fascinated to hear, have you read Nadella's essay? I'll put the link below this video. I'll also put a link to that Chinese homework study. Have you seen them both? What are your thoughts? What are your reflections? Would love to hear them below this video, or find me over on LinkedIn. We'll trade ideas over there.